Standing here at the Laurel County Fairgrounds. There's been some extensive work going on out here for the past several months, and that direction there is looking out toward the exit. You can see paved areas and grade and drain, concrete work that's been going on out here for several months. So the direction in which I'm walking is where the gate used to be, and right here is what's left of the pavilion. The pavilion over the years was called the Pepsi Pavilion, and they rebranded it. Steel structure, steel and wooden roof structure. Here's one of the steel supports. But as you can see, it's reduced to a pile of rubble. Back there in the back was the relatively new, within the last 6-8 years, the concession building and bathroom building that was built here. Completely obliterated, as if a bomb went off. So where I'm standing is underneath the old roof of the pavilion and the concession building back there. Set of bleachers right here. Years ago I bought these. They were called bench ends. These plastic things right here. Put 2x4s in there and turn them into a bench. There were several of them that I bought years ago. I was also involved in the construction of this pavilion. The purchase of a lot of old portable bleachers like these. They're in a pile of rubble. Back in the back, behind that, is the old ag building. Completely gone. There was another shed metal building straight ahead where those orange gates are that you see there. A little small building that me and some of the members of the organization I belong to built that building back in the 90s. A little small, we just called it the gray storage building. And the old pole barn used to sit right here, but I think it was already possibly removed. I don't know. A lot of damage. Used to be a walkout door right here. Look how the wind just wrapped that metal around that 8x8. Incredible. Old box fans. Bought those things back in the early 80s. That's the concrete pad for the ag building. City Fire Department kept an old Mack fire truck stored out here too. It looks like it survived. I think that's a 1940 something model Mack pumper truck. Maybe they can salvage that. Some of the construction companies had pieces of equipment out here, and geez, the debris just sort of, this UTV flipped over right up against some of these pieces of equipment. This piece of metal found a resting place right up against this skid steer right here. This is the spot where the old pole barn used to be. And no, it wasn't already knocked down, because here are the pieces of wood that 8x8 and all this rough cut lumber is all part of this debris pile. So you had the old pole barn and the ag building there, and the Pepsi Pavilion, or the pavilion back over there. The show ring, where some of it had already been disassembled and getting ready to be reconfigured. But show you the power of this wind. These light poles here have stood for many years. In fact, my father and his vocational students wired these lights. Mercury halide lights. Just snapped at the pole. And that one over there is still sort of standing. One back there is gone, and one back there is laying on the ground. So, lots of destruction here at the fairgrounds. Sort of brings about a lot of emotional feelings. I spent over 30 years out here. Saw a lot of this place constructed. Back there in the back is where the carnival rides would set up. Pretty much a debris field now, where pieces of bleachers and equipment have just been thrown around. Even up against the wood line there on the other side of the power line, there's pieces of metal resting up against the tree line there. And you can see the path of the tornado right through there as it was headed toward Crooked Creek. You can see those trees snapped as the tornado popped right up over that hill onto the Crooked Creek property. So, yep. Amazing power of the wind. Back up here toward the front, you see the construction. This was like a drop-off area, I guess, a circular drop-off area under construction with concrete curbing. The old road that went along the fence row down to the church league fields, right through there. And then, of course, the entrance was right over here. And some of these structures, like the pavilion there, and the ag building, and the old pole barn structure, I believe were going to be utilized for the new construction project. So now they'll have to go back to the drawing board and possibly reconfigure the entire design. So sometimes when you get lemons, you make lemonade. It's a shame, but everything will work out okay. The bigger concern is for the loss of all the lives and the injuries. That's the big thing. This stuff right here is just stuff. Stuff can be replaced. People cannot. And that's sort of the philosophy you have to go with moving forward. Rise like a phoenix. I'm standing on what used to be the fence line that ran up to the main gate. As you turn around and walk, you're walking basically down the street to the church league field where the fence line still exists on down through there. To the left of the blue porta-johns. Over here on the left, that big tree, if it could talk. I remember lots of conversations we had about cutting that tree down and trimming that tree, and it just had so much character that we left it alone. But The storm certainly took care of it. And blown way over here from the pavilion, that pavilion mess is up there. Here's a piece of steel that's blown 75 to 100 yards. Just the power and the way these storms twist and throw things is just amazing. So this piece of steel laying right here, a part of the roof structure of the pavilion, was up that way about 100 yards. As well as a lot of the other pieces. There's some other pieces right over through there, just tossed around like matchsticks. There's the Lower Church League softball field, and up on the top's what was always called Ruby Field, named in honor of Ruby Elza. Incredible. Incredible. So this project had no longer got up and got started until Mother Nature dealt a blow. But back to the drawing board and figure it out. As long as the money holds out, may have to go borrow a little money. But the old fairgrounds will certainly never be the same. I did a video a few years ago when the fairgrounds was in the news. It was a rainy day somewhere on my channel. I'll try to find that and link it. But as it turns out, that particular video may be the last look we'll ever have of the way it used to be. Okay. Thanks for watching.